All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming out to this very large, beautiful room at 8 o'clock on this Thursday night to hear us argue about Castlevania games.
It's an intimate gathering.
It is an intimate gathering.
Us and our closest friends talking about vampires.
It is a circle of the moon. A rondo of conversation. Yeah, hi, this is Fat Gatsby's Grudge Match panel, which is the third one we've done. We've argued about Zelda games, we've argued about Final Fantasy games, and tonight we are going to argue about Castlevania games to try to figure out here with you what the best Castlevania game is.
Yeah.
Or just talk about some good games.
Yeah.
And also talk about some good games along the way. So yeah, what we have done, we have Dave, do you want to explain how we came to this bracket?
All right, so this was, it was incredibly difficult for us to limit the number of Castlevania games down to just a 16-team tournament bracket because there are more than 30 games that you can technically call Castlevania games, the mainline splinter from the series. So we had to make some very judicious decisions.
They're all pachinko games.
We sampled lots of top lists of Castlevania. We sampled review scores. We sampled lists compiled by top critics and historians, one of whom is here this weekend. So that we could put together what we felt was a list that was pretty accurately reflective of how each of these games are viewed and ranked among sort of the gaming cognoscenti and among players. Most of those games leaned heavily toward, guess what, the 2D games in the series. So we decided it was most fair to just make a hard cut and say we are not ranking the 3D games. Sorry, Lords of Shadow 2 fans, I know you're out there.
Sorry, Lament of Innocence fan. Sorry.
And there were lots of there are lots of games that did not make the cut of the best reviewed 16 games in the series. You're going to be surprised by what wound up included in some cases. Everyone's going to have their heart a little broken by what was left out, but we feel that we did our best to compile a list of the 16 best Castlevania games. With one big caveat, of course, and that's the special Fat Gatsby twist that we like to throw into all of our lists here. In previous years, we actually haven't had enough games to fill out a full tournament bracket of 16. So we've substituted in sort of an honorary game, a game that is not a proper part of the mainline series, but that's why we're talking about Curse of the Moon this time. When we ranked Zelda, we included Darksiders on our list for contention, and when we ranked the Final Fantasy games, we included Bravely Default. So this year, we thought we would let you, the audience, choose. Don't go to sleep on me.
Yeah, audience, don't go to sleep on us.
Come back, baby girl.
Please don't.
We want to let you, the audience, choose in a preliminary battle who should make it to the actual tournament. And we begin with our first prelim matchup.
There it is.
Castlevania The Adventure Rebirth for WiiWare versus Bloodstained Curse of the Moon by Intercreates. Both of these teams were created outside Konami, though one of them does bear the Castlevania name. The Adventure Rebirth was, of course, made by M2. And Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, though it has the blessing of longtime series steward Koji Igarashi, it was largely made by Intercreates with a little creative input from him. So, with that, we are going to argue the merits of these two games and see who deserves inclusion. And you can vote. If you go to fatgatsby.com, there's a link right there on the front page, and you can vote for all of the games in the bracket. You can actually scroll ahead and look at some of the later matchups. Those are largely placeholders, so it makes it easier for me to type in real time. You can screw up the voting if you want. You can vote multiple times if you want. It really doesn't matter. Yes, Bobby, what is it?
Shut up. What is wrong with you?
Okay.
Is it? No, you should wait until the experts on the panel educate you about these
Unless
games.
you think you know better than us, Bobby.
Or you can do both.
What are you, fucking professor of video games over there, Bobby?
Because the Google Forms that you are voting on. There's no limit. You can hit submit as many times as you want. You can vote for the same question multiple times. You can heavily weight the scoring however you want. There's really no limit to how you want to do it.
You can write in Kid Dracula.
Or you can play fair and just vote for your favorite game one time. We're going to leave that in your dirty hands.
But all right, we got to get this thing going because we got a lot of things to argue about.
It's a terrible night to have a curse.
This is the one that's not even a thing.
Yeah, this is before we even get into it deep and dirty. So yeah, Bloodstained is a game that came out this year as kind of a
last year.
Last year.
Happy New Year.
As an appetizer to that other Bloodstained game that got kickstarted. And Castlevania Rebirth
came out of nowhere, right? Like it just kind of
it was
about a month before they said there's going to be a game, and then it kind of plopped in our laps.
Yep. Yeah, and then Rebirth was like a WiiWare game like a decade ago. There's a remake of Castlevania: The Adventure.
Legend.
Yeah, the one for Game Boy. One of the ones for Game Boy.
1 and 2. It mashes them together.
Yeah. So Bloodstained is pretty fresh, and Rebirth is actually pretty fresh for me as well because I played it last year before you couldn't buy Wii points anymore.
Yeah.
Still got Wii points. You better spend them in the next month. It's going down.
Yeah, and it's a really impressive remake, Rebirth, because like Castlevania Adventure, there's the first Game Boy game, Castlevania, does not really hold up. Very, very simple, no sub weapons, none of that. The WiiWare remake is really impressive. Like the animation's really good, like the music's quite good.
Yeah, well, the second, Belmont's Revenge, I love it because of the music. It's a slug. It's like the Game Boy screen does not play really well for Castlevania. It's really tight, so
and it's a square, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tiny little square. So actually having like fluid movement, it feels really nice. So that's Rebirth, and then Bloodstained. We get Castlevania 3.
Yeah, Bloodstained is kind of Castlevania 3, very inspired by, where you, well, here's the thing. So you start out with kind of your Belmont stand-in with your sub-weapons, and you can pick up 3 more characters that are possibly analogous to the characters from Castlevania 3 along your journey, or you can stab them and not have those characters with you.
Which would be foolish because they're great and they're kind of extra lives.
But man, is it hard when you do stab them. You get some extra powers, but man, you get to the end of that game and
those extra powers are cool. And I didn't even know that my first playthrough. I mean, that was just a cool little bonus thing I didn't discover until much later. It's such an for this little bonus game that's just an appetizer, a precursor to
Dave, what'd your screen do?
Oh my God! Okay, I gotta set this to not fall asleep. Don't fall asleep.
Don't fall asleep.
He's so unprofessional.
This is so unprofessional. Yeah, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon just did so much right for a little game that didn't have to.
It's not even that little, too. Like, it's 8 full levels. Like, it feels, like certainly NES length is not, a 40-hour game. But, it'll take you a couple hours your first playthrough. And there's some smart, I think, like, the Castlevania games, by and large, like a series trademark, is they're pretty tough. And there's some smart difficulty options, I think. Like, if you want that good old NES, like, hard knockback, you can get it. But if you want to have a little more sane, for your first time through, like, learning the enemies, hey, just, don't knock me back so much, you can set that on, too.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of nice for new players to the series.
No, and I'll definitely give Bloodstained level design. I thought it was way more clever. Like I expected it to be like a cool idea, just kind of set in kind of plain little like sets, but there's set pieces that always stand out.
The bosses are huge.
Yeah, the bosses are really
great.
cool.
That's where the game sort of betrays its like 8-bit style. They definitely feel a little bit more, both in terms of like graphical fidelity and animation. Like you're like, I don't know if the NES could do this.
Because it's a Mega Man game's best impression of a Castlevania game, and that's really cool. I think it's really cool to see. Hey, we've been making Mega Man. We're Intercreates. We've been making Mega Man games for 20 years. But what if we could take a stab at a different series that we also really like? It's like that's a chance of a lifetime if you're a career game dev and you get to try something that you're a fan of, and they incorporate all the stuff that they do really well. Like there's those cool, great big screen filling bosses, which are not typical for Castlevania, more typical for Mega Man, but it gives it a new invigorating flavor than an internally designed Castlevania would have, which is why I love to include games like this in these matchups. I think we all sound pretty well decided here, and I got to tell you what, the audience's feelings have definitely been registered on this matter. I'm ready to call it.
Let's call it.
Yeah.
I'm calling it for Bloodstained Curse of the Moon moves on to the battle proper.
Hey,
So-
listen to some Belmont's Revenge music.
The first matchup
Time
of
to
our
time to get really into the nitty gritty here.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh,
now,
boy.
what is this first game?
All right. This is called Symphony of the Night.
The night. It's a Game Gear game.
Tis nigh.
No, what do we got, Dave?
Yeah. So this is Symphony of the Night versus Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest.
Who man?
You just wanted
This one's-
Castlevania 2 to get out of there, you asshole.
So when I was a kid, I thought Simon's Quest was totally magical, right? Like
Yeah.
it had this day-night cycle. It's kind of this like open world game. It's full of like mysterious secrets. It felt like a lot different.
Mysterious
than, like,
secrets.
Well, again, so
not
you know,
total BS.
right? So 7-year-old me is like, this game is amazing. Like this game
Yeah.
is like full of hidden mystery, and who knows what could be on this card. And then as soon as you like kind of realize like all the bullshit, all the like squatting down, the awful translation where like the hints can sometimes be wrong, you're like, man, maybe like screw this game. I don't know, like. It's got a lot of spirit and a lot of spunk, but I feel like there's a reason that the sequel to this game was like, hey, you know what was good? Maybe Castlevania 1? Maybe we should do that.
A Castlevania 2 remake would be so
They
great.
could fix it, and
so
it would
great.
be
They
so
fix
awesome.
It would be so awesome.
100%.
It's just like that game was already like reaching into Metroidvania territory, 10 years before Symphony of the Night. Well, not 10 years.
It is
but
absolutely
years before Symphony of
half-baked,
the Night
and if
was.
somebody would do like a
Yeah.
spiritual remake, they could really make something
like that
cool.
idea of like having towns and going out into the countryside in a day-night cycle, and then going into the various mansions and all that stuff. That is all great ideas that is just executed the way that it is.
Yeah, no, it props for trying new things. It didn't. I mean, they didn't know what a Castlevania series was, so they went, okay, what is Castlevania? It's
the beauty of
vampires?
NES games.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And the beauty of like an early sequel too.
And that's also part of the NES tradition of like, hey, your second game can be something very different, right?
Yeah.
Like Mario 2, Zelda 2, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Symphony of the Night, on the other hand, that seems like a pretty good game.
It's very good.
Like, if I were thinking of games I would put on like a classic PlayStation console, I'd certainly want that to be on there.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is there any like Simon's Quest diehards in here? They're going to argue for that over Symphony of the Night? Any advocates for the devil?
Or just love in general. Just your chance to talk about it, Bobby.
Anybody else like rebuilding Dracula?
Nope.
I agree with the things that you said so far. Simon's Quest had that into it, and I have also thought that a remake of that game would be spectacular. But as it stands, as Tim said, it is as it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Implying that Simon's Quest is anything short of a masterpiece.
Sure.
That you
There's
put-
a
that
bunch
you
of
put back
spread
together.
masterpieces around that you need to connect. Yeah.
That game's got heart.
It does. It
Doesn't
rib.
want you to win.
No.
I have finished Simon's Quest. It took help, but
Yeah.
they point you in the right direction. It's pretty fun and not that tough to actually get through. Really, it's just knowing what to do.
Yeah, the-
Well,
like-
localization
Yeah.
The
just
localization
is
was so
such
bad.
a problem.
That's why he got that Nintendo Power with his scary head in his
Oh,
hand.
it's so
Dave,
good.
what do we got down there? Oh, we got an apple?
Yeah, we got it. How's the apple?
So, I can tell you guys how you feel about this. And
Can you?
You should have eaten before.
Oh,
the
what an
panel.
upset.
did really not one of you voted for Castlevania 2? Literally,
One of you did.
your vote was not registered. Try again. Fight that good fight.
Keep
There
voting.
it is. That's it.
There it is. Yeah.
Oh, there's
Keep
more.
voting until you get a ball.
Catch them all.
Simon's Quest might have gone somewhere, but as this is not a
She's really trying, folks. It's Castlevania
All right, we
2
gotta
is
move.
kicking right
We gotta
up.
move. We got a lot to get through. Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
okay, good
All
call.
right,
Yeah.
I will do that in the future.
All right.
In future
It's
rounds.
As of right now,
Simon's Quest doesn't get unjustly rejected.
answering our pleas, Castlevania 2 is creeping up to 30% of the vote now.
Ooh, well done.
It is very
When it
funny
was a
watching
zero.
that pie just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
But Symphony of
Yep,
the
there it
Night,
goes.
someone better come in and start defending Symphony of the Night because Castlevania 2 is quickly
good.
overtaking
Let's move
it.
on.
All right, we're going
it
to call
says
this at
something.
this
Yeah.
point for Symphony of the
Yes.
Night.
Yeah.
And we are going to move on to our next matchup. Here we go. We've got Super Castlevania 4 versus Castlevania Bloodlines, if you're American.
Bloodline.
A 16-bit showdown.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. I wish I would spend. Bloodlines is one I want to spend more time with, and
Yeah.
I can't say that with a lot of games in the series.
I was a Nintendo kid, so I've mostly, and I have the
me too.
nostalgia for Castlevania 4.
Bloodlines does have that sweet, like the sound effects are great. It has that good Genesis like brink, 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 type of sound.
It has two
But-
characters to choose from.
But which of these games does your whip go in 8 directions? That's my question.
This is true. And
which of these games has 7 modes?
7 modes. The rooms rotate. It's
The
crazy.
chandelier goes like this.
What?
Yeah, on
Genesis
this,
had like 4 modes max.
on this one especially, I need help for people to like defend Bloodlines because I have not played a ton of that one in particular because I didn't have a Genesis. I do own a cartridge
It's
of it.
good. I mean, like,
I've played
the-
some. Yeah, I know it's a solid Castlevania.
having the
but-
2 characters was really neat. Like, having the big long spear versus the whip felt meaningfully different. They're like different paths opened up in the game. So like, again, especially back then, having some replay value, like that was pretty cool.
Story-wise was pretty like I remember it being much more interested in that than other story games
For
at the
sure.
time, like with Trevor and such.
Well, especially
or,
with 4 being,
Morris,
essentially,
John Morris, yeah.
a very good one, but a remake of Castlevania 1.
Yeah,
I mean, the
exactly.
story there is pretty simple. The look of Bloodlines I didn't like very much. Like the character models were good and the enemy design was very good, but the world itself felt pretty flat to me. There's some good special effects there, like some neat, like kind of neon lighting and stuff when you hit stuff, but.
I've grown to like its use of color.
Yeah, I was about
For
to say,
sure,
it's colors.
very bright sprites.
Yeah.
Some might say garish, but compared to the Super Castlevania 4, which can feel a little monochrome sometimes.
Lots of grays, browns.
Yeah,
Yes,
Bloodlines
absolutely.
looks more fun.
A lot of reds and blues.
Yeah, big, bright, bold colors. But they're ultimately 2 very different interpretations of the classic Castlevania style. One is way more traditional, and one branches out into what would prove to be an evolutionary dead end, unfortunately, because who doesn't love that fucking 8-way whip, everyone? Come on.
It's a lot
I
of
love
ways.
it.
It's more than one.
Are they voting on who? loves
They're
that
they're
8-way
voting
whip?
on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we at the point?
Should we give a warning?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
30
call it a warning.
seconds?
But yeah, does anyone have any thoughts on this one that they would like to voice on
And some-
Bloodlines or 4? Yes.
Yes.
I was a Genesis kid.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I did play Bloodlines way more than the Super Castlevania 4. So in retrospect, I do realize now that 4 is probably better. The one aspect of Bloodlines that's probably a little bit better than the originals is that Bloodlines took place in like different locations. Like
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. You
Yeah.
travel around
Across
Europe.
Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Castlevania was strictly in Transylvania. The one advantage I would have over it, but yeah,
Yeah, it felt bigger for that. Yeah.
older I realized 4 was probably better, but as a kid, Bloodlines was just my Castlevania.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah, that means a lot.
I have a feeling we are in line with the audience thoughts here, but should we take a quick vote here before we
Yeah.
cut off the voting?
I mean, I'm for 4.
Yeah, 4, but
4.
I gotta say 4, and that is also where the audience is lining up. Super Castlevania 4 takes it this round, folks. So we are
What's
gonna
the
move
margin,
on
Dave?
to what?
The margin of victory.
The margin? It was about 60-40.
There you go.
Yes,
Nice.
a fair
I like
margin.
seeing it.
Our next matchup.
Wow, wow.
Here we go, folks. It's Castlevania Order of Ecclesia
These 2 games represent 4 screens.
versus Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, the DS duology post Arias, post Dawn, Sorrows.
After sorrow.
The post Sorrow DS duology. That's what I'm going to name them right now. That's their nickname. Let's see if that fucking sticks.
I'll be honest, this is kind of where the Ega games just got kind of boring for me.
Yeah. I think Ecclesia's his last game with
Ecclesia was the last one. We
Yeah.
ended up talking about this on our way down in the car about how much I don't like Order of Ecclesia.
Oh, really? Okay.
And it comes into this technically from the upper bracket. I was kind of surprised when we were putting this list together, like how well regarded Order of Ecclesia is, because
It's really come around
I think it's
in
cool.
years.
So
That was-
it's super hard. I think so. At least for like modern Castlevania games, it's pretty brutal. But I think the glyph system is really cool. Like it basically has a whole bigger like like I don't know, what would you say, like set of weapons and abilities and stuff than you're used to. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a cool thing about the game, and something that got me excited about it is that they have kind of like a rock, paper, scissors weapon system going on, where some enemies have weaknesses and weapons have different properties. I think it's like pointy, slashy, and poundy. That's what they're called. Blunt, slash, and piercing, or something like that. And it had smaller, more discrete stages, I believe, as well.
I remember
kind of transitioning around a little map.
Portrait or order?
Order.
Or this is order we're talking about,
order.
and me getting to why I don't like it.
I was gonna say specifically, I remember not liking the levels.
Some of them were kind of. I felt like you had to traverse them multiple times in some cases. But what just really got me is I felt it got tedious with me switching my weapons constantly to try to counter the enemies that I was fighting, and I just ended up not having a great time with it. Whereas I had a great time with Portrait of Ruin, just hitting the character switch button.
Just to scream
Yeah,
go, Jonathan, Charlotte, Jonathan, Charlotte.
Inherent humor, but also like the portrait system itself was fun. I think
It was fun.
Like
So that,
the warping,
kind of had a central hub, and you'd go out into different
Yeah.
paintings. A downside of Portrait of Ruin is it did reuse every area twice. So that is a knock to it. Even though I had a lot of fun with basically just playing around with the characters, the world was not that interesting.
I think both.
Well, it was interesting, but it also yeah.
I think both these games are okay.
Yep.
That's
exactly where I am.
Portrait of Ruin, I definitely fell off on due to like the duplication there. It just felt like, I think part of the problem with these games, if we're being honest, is like by this point we were getting awfully spoiled with super good portable Metroidvania games in this genre.
There were too many.
I don't know if there were too many, but they were coming out at a really good clip, and
they were coming out at a good clip.
These are neither of these are as memorable to me as some of the other ones.
Well, and they weren't learning from the other people. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like it felt very insular. It's just like we learned from the last Castlevania. This works, so we'll do it.
Right.
Not blank game work.
Yes.
Not Cave Story. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Very different weapons.
Spoilers.
Yeah. This panel will have spoilers. Yeah, that was awesome. I loved it. Yep, I totally agree.
Ended strong.
I'd forgotten about
Let's get
that,
our last
so you
votes
just
in,
reminded
because
me.
we got to get moving.
That's cool.
Okay.
totally.
So, all right, we're gonna last chance for voting right now. We're gonna take our temperature up here. Tim, what say you?
Portrait.
Weiss?
Portrait.
Jay?
I'll go Portrait.
I'm going with Portrait also. And
Wow.
Folks, you also favor Portrait by a 75%, 75 to 25%. So Portrait of Ruin takes that route, which I'm surprised. I kind of thought Order of Ecclesia was going to advance, but let's move on.
Too excited about
to our next matchup,
Bitter.
folks.
10 years of bitterness.
We've got Castlevania: Harmony of Dissonance versus Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse.
Ooh,
Easy one.
This is an easy one. I'm a huge fan of the Metroidvania games. I do not like Harmony of Dissonance.
That one I was lukewarm on at the time, and it has not held up to lukewarm.
Well, I mean, they really overcorrected from Circle of the Moon, which was too dark. And they're like, we're going to put everything in the snow. Everything's going to be white and blue and bright and garish.
And there's going to be like an outline around your character.
Yeah, that's like
you
glowing.
got that weird vignette.
Yeah, like that game was too hard. We're going to make this game really easy. You could kind of dash. That was cool.
I just thought he felt really clunky.
Yeah.
Mr. Justy Belmont. Just Belmont. He's just Belmont.
Used
to.
Didn't that come out?
More your lips.
That was a year after Circle of the Moon, right? I remember
within
that
like
being
a year and a half.
Year or two, maybe.
Quick. They did
I don't
it.
forget exactly. It was quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
The GBA, Game Boy Advance, and before the SP.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
But it
the
was
second
also
one.
Igarashi's return to the series since Symphony, because it was Konami, their Kobe team. No,
I don't know which team.
it was a different internal team. It was the same internal team that did Legends, Castlevania Legends.
Oh, yeah,
for the black
okay.
and white Game Boy.
Yeah.
The one that got scrubbed from continuity. That was the Circle of the Moon. Was that? But the Harmony, I remember the jump from Circle to Harmony, and at the time, I was like, wow, they finally did it. This is it. This is like Symphony on the go. This is so cool. Because, going back to it, the problems arise. The sprites are too goddamn big for that small screen's resolution. The music does some interesting things. It's just unfortunate that they had to use the Game Boy Advance's legacy Z80 chip to make it. It's
Sick burn on the Z80 chip.
Yo, that Z80 can do a.
I don't
I'm sorry,
have
say
a
again?
sample.
I just love a room that has opinions about
No, we don't have any samples. But then there's Castlevania 3, I guess, which is hard. It's hard as balls.
It's very hard. I get
Yeah.
it for Castlevania, it's hard. But it's cool. I mean, again, it felt like, it was the like Mario 3 to Castlevania's Mario 1, right?
Yeah, it circled back to the original formula,
Right, like
but everything bigger and better.
Everything's bigger and better. We've got branching paths now. We've got more characters. I mean, the music is like.
I was going to say, I think
Yeah.
Castlevania 3's soundtrack alone could beat up Harmony
it's-
of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, really.
And if we-
forgetting the rest of the game, just the soundtrack.
And if we throw in the Famicom chip, then
It's Alucard's first game. Like, that's super cool.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Oh my god, that Japanese soundtrack.
That's the best hidden bonus to a game. Yeah.
They did it with extra chips, baby. But even considering that limitation, like the version
Yes.
that we got pushed the limits
Yeah.
of the MMC3 chip that we got in our cartridge version. So
I'm gonna say last call on votes here because I feel it's getting
Yeah, we'll probably
going to be a
talk more
lopsided
about
one.
okay,
What do
so
we got? To be
last
fair.
call for voting on this one. Our panel, what say you?
I say Castlevania 3.
Harmony 3. Come on.
Yeah.
I say 3 too, but folks, we got a problem because the audience disagrees with
What?
us.
Wow.
Ah, someone's having fun voting.
Harmony of Dissonance is taking it right now by a
There's some
pretty
dissonance in
large
this room.
margin. There's some. We'll dissonate your harmonies.
There is some dissonance in this room.
All right, well,
It
congrats.
is-
Hang on.
You guys are the deciders.
Hang on. Show of hands. Who is for Harmony of Dissonance in here?
Nice.
All right.
Of course.
There. That's the one who's voting over and over again. Who in here is for Dracula's Curse?
Oh, that's pretty telling. I'm sorry, Joe.
Gotta show up at the polls.
All right, thank you everyone for being honest.
Pikachu for that?
We are going to give that one to Castlevania 3: Dracula's Curse, despite Joe's best efforts.
Just helps to take a more analog vote sometimes.
Sometimes we need the show of hands for a tiebreaker. So our
right.
next matchup here tonight, we've got Rondo of Blood versus Circle of the Moon.
Oh, poor Circle of the Moon. Another
Oh.
tough first round
I don't really feel
matchup.
bad for it.
Oh, I would go Circle of the Moon on this.
Oh, I'm going Rondo hard on this one.
I mean, yes, Rondo is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. As I was saying, I just went back to it, and that game holds up insanely well. It might be the most replayable of the old style Castlevania games, easily for me.
Yeah, Circle of the Moon had problems at the time. Problems of being able to see it on the screen.
Yeah.
But I think that was the extent of the problems. Like, as soon as the SP
Yeah.
came out, you were like, and especially considering the time, like this is the first of those games since Symphony of the Night, and now it's portable.
Yeah.
Like, that was a complete.
Oh, I was
game
overjoyed.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Oh, yeah,
at the time, yeah.
And I had an afterburner in my GBA,
Same.
so I could
Wow.
see that
Look
Like
motherfucker.
like going back to Circle of the Moon, which I did somewhat recently.
good
I was
point.
like kind of like, oh, woof.
Really, woof? Was it
yeah,
more woof
like-
or just like, this is an okay one of those?
Well, yeah,
But-
it's okay. Like
Okay.
I still like it more than Harmony.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
It's got a pretty
I
great
like
opening
the
track.
magic system, the little combo-y card magic system they have in the game. It's cool if a little bit simple. As far
It's
as
definitely simple
Castlevania
compared to
goes.
what would come later. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
but-
again, less tedious, less like menu switching and stuff
Sure,
than some of
but
the later games.
Rondo, famously was locked overseas and only
Right.
existed on the Turbo CD. It was this legendary game for so long. And when I finally got to play it on WiiWare, I was like, oh, this is
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
like,
oh,
actually
That's the
really
thing.
is
It's
Castlevania.
the only
It holds up
thing
really well.
Yeah, after all that build-up, it's just like, oh yeah, that's this. Nobody was talking about how great this game was enough.
It's got cool
Like, oh
anime
wait, no, you were
cutscenes.
actually right in this
yeah,
case.
you were 100% right.
Yeah, but you guys, All right, holla if you know this one. Da 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 da. Yeah, that's right. Circle of the Moon had a pretty kick-ass soundtrack.
Yeah,
I mean,
it did.
Right?
So did Order of Ecclesia.
I'm
See what
trying to
happened to
justify the audience polling
if we're being
right
honest,
now because
most of these games have very good music.
someone out there loves Circle of the Moon because right now the audience poll.
Look, yes.
It is.
But over Rondo, though, you guys,
Yeah.
you just want to fight.
It's a tricky one.
This guy gets it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I will say, yeah, Rondo, like, graphically held up, like, the whole branching paths.
I'm definitely not here to dunk on Rondo of Blood. That is a fantastic
sure.
game.
I liked,
but
I liked it more, like, we were talking about, like, whether we should have the remake for PSP involved in this thing. And we did.
That was
and it was okay. I don't remember.
I never played it, but looking at it,
it
I
looks
just did not
terrible.
love
I
that.
feel like that
2D.
was the first time I experienced, because that also had Rondo unlockable, though it was, like, squished down on
it
the
just looks
screen.
wrong. Like, it
So-
looks like the weird, like, crappy mobile ports of the, like, Square
Yeah.
Enix games. Like, I don't know. That
Okay, next year we're doing a grudge match of best renditions of Vampire Killer
Oh
of
my
all
gosh.
time.
it's hyper specific.
I like it. Yes.
No. Yeah.
All right, let's get our last votes in on here. Any
music fight would be
yeah.
fun in the future.
Last votes. Lock
Last
them in.
vote, it's all right. It's looking a little more even, but I'd get him in there. I think up on here on the panel we're all pretty unified in this.
Rondo,
We're
yeah.
sweeping it for Rondo.
yeah.
I'm going to go with Circle.
Yeah.
There you go.
I am.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
He's going circle.
3 to
Okay, all
well,
right.
3 to 1, and the audience polling is very close. Right now, it's 54% Circle, 44% Rondo. So I think we're going to have to do that show of hands again.
Hands up. Circle of the Moon.
Circle of the Moon?
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
Keep
hands
those
up.
hands raised, everybody.
Hands up, Rondo of Blood.
That's really
that's-
close.
That's
It's,
damn
it's
close.
So
you know
close.
what? It is close. I see a few more Rondo hands, and there's a few more Rondo hands up
Wait
here.
a minute.
Going on with the vote.
We,
Oh,
the
man.
vote is for Circle. The vote
Vote is
online is
Circle.
for Circle.
The
I hate to lose it.
I know. Right now,
But-
Circle is taking it. Would
That's
this
up
be?
to you
Hey,
guys.
man, I'd say if that's what the
If that's what
audience,
the audience
wants.
says. I was ready to defend Rondo over everything
I'm
tonight.
just curious to see how far this is going to go.
Yeah,
I know.
Are we giving this to Circle?
Sure, fine.
You guys have just voted
will
Circle
bow
of
to
the
audience.
Moon over Rondo of Blood.
Keeping the dream alive.
Troublemakers. Huge
Yes.
All right,
troublemakers.
Burn it all.
I thought this would have been the most slam dunk round one face.
You would think, but
That's
you guys are
hilarious.
funny.
Circle
guys
of the
are
Moon.
fun.
Fine.
All right,
Moves
Circle
on.
of the Moon.
Great.
Next matchup: Castlevania: Dawn of Sorrow versus what we know here in the States as Castlevania Chronicles, the sharp X68K
Right.
Akumaju Dracula.
Akumaju.
Yeah,
It was
Akumaju.
released on PlayStation 1.
Yes, as Castlevania Chronicles.
Yeah, and is available on PSN to play on your PS3 or PSP or your PS Vita.
I can't say much about Chronicles.
I have played Chronicles. It's cool.
It's good.
It's okay. It's I mean, it's another like Castlevania 1 remake. It's not as good as Super Castlevania 4. It's okay.
I've listened to the soundtrack a lot. That's
Yeah.
about what.
Dawn of Sorrow is a pretty good Castlevania
Dawn of
game.
Sorrow is stellar. I think Dawn of Sorrow is my favorite of the portable Castlevanias.
It's got
at least.
one big problem.
It's a big problem.
Do you guys
it
not
is-
like the rune tracing?
I hate the rune.
It
trick.
makes
kinda
it
like the
almost
rune tracing.
unplayable
It is
to me.
the-
Yeah.
You do have to navigate the stylus in your hand, and that's okay. It's kind of bad, but I don't know. I like that it's novel. I like that it has the initials.
I
DS.
like the
that's
idea.
funny.
It just didn't work.
Yo,
Yeah.
I really don't mind the rune tracing
there you go.
so much as Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow is a fucking boring ass game.
The
Heel
knives
turn.
just came out.
I cannot. That was the point at which I was pulling my hair on, being like, Igarashi, if you fucking design one more room
Fantastic,
that is
flawless
just
game
a
that just
platform here,
continues to
platform
entertain
here,
us for
platform
years.
here, and
We
it's
will thank
mirrored
you
on this side,
forever
mirrored on that
and back
side.
your Kickstarter.
Choke
He
each
had
other.
abandoned any sense of level design at this point. They were just like,
Wow.
let's just fucking auto-generate it. This is so boring to traverse those identical mirrored
It's in the
rooms.
future. It's future Castlevania. There's like
I-
cool,
okay,
like weird
well, I
future
will-
weapons, even though it doesn't. I mean, it looks the same in Gothic and all that.
whoa.
Conceptually in the future.
I favor Dawn of Sorrow, at least in this matchup.
Yeah.
Because I do think it is a more fun, more interesting game than Chronicles, which is a good, solid Castlevania
Totally.
remake.
I think it's
so.
ultimately fairly forgettable.
I will
though.
save the bad things I have to say about Dawn of Sorrow for later when it's up against a game I might like more.
That's what I was
But
gonna
for
say.
now, it was, a good first effort on the DS. It's probably the best. I think it's the best DS Castlevania.
Totally.
Yeah, it
looks
is.
good. Kept the soul
yeah.
system going. It's
Right.
just I think of that rune tracing, and I'm just like, oh.
It was so frustrating because
Other
we'll
than
talk
that, it
about
was a lot of
Aria,
fun.
and it came
Yeah.
after Aria. But
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, I have no relationship with Chronicles aside from the soundtrack, and it's another remake ultimately.
I don't know.
should we
Any
call-
strong
should we call
Castlevania
for a
Chronicles fans out there?
Me? Yeah.
Oh, there's
I
Dave.
fucking
Hi.
go to bat for it. Mostly for novelty value, though, because it's interesting. Because it's yet another, each of the 16-bit Castlevania games were these different evolutionary paths, and sort of only one of them won. They all followed the Rondo pattern, but this was yet another branch that the series could have explored but didn't. It's got these great big sprites. It's got graphical effects that we didn't see on any of our home systems at the time because it was for a console that was not available in America. So I know that the interest is largely as a novelty because I love seeing this is a resolution I'm not used to. These are scaling effects I'm not used to seeing. These are all interesting ideas that I've never seen here in the States. It's hard as fuck. And Dawn of Sorrow does have that kick-ass 4-character mode if you beat it. So
That's true.
Oh yeah,
true, it's cool.
That was probably
that's
the
kind of
best
its
part.
saving grace.
So let's get our last votes in here.
Yeah.
All right, last vote.
Last vote,
What
last
say we here on the panel?
I vote Dawn.
Dawn by a little bit.
Dawn.
I hate to say it, but I got to. Dawn is the better game. And you guys agree overwhelmingly by a
Yay.
margin of 75 to 25%.
Good job,
Back on the
audience.
same
Dawn of
page.
Sorrow
Well
takes
played,
this
well voted.
round. Well done, Soma Cruz.
How do we resurrect Rondo?
All right, our next matchup. This is round 7 here. Oh, okay. So this is our mystery game. Our prelim winner, which turned out to be
Bloodstained
Curse of the Moon, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon, versus Castlevania for the NES.
Castlevania 1.
The Pretender versus the original.
Oh. Oh,
man.
That's dirty.
Yep.
I don't like
Damn
this.
dirty. It's the way it's got to be.
I will mention, Dave, I know you watched Jeremy Parrish's Castlevania video probably back in the last year or two. Talking in the mic. But the one thing that it reminded me of is just setting that weird tone right out of the box, like mixing the Universal monsters, like the goofiness of the Universal monsters with actual gothic fare, actually setting the level design in that first game. It did a lot of impressive things right out of the box that I think we take for granted because it's been around
Yeah,
so
a lot
long.
of the series hallmarks remain there.
Yeah,
Even
right
the first
there,
one.
day
It's true.
one.
Look, Jeremy Parrish, who is here somewhere, maybe, I don't know, and I love him and he's my boyfriend and we're going to get married someday.
Sure.
He fucking loves this game and he makes a really strong case arguing its merits. He breaks it down really, really well.
Which game
how
is
this
this?
game excels. But then you actually have to play it.
Castlevania of,
And is it fun?
No.
I don't know.
I mean, yes, but
Is it slow in plotting?
It's hard to
Kinda.
break from nostalgia for me because it's fun, but it's also making me think of playing it in a play choice in an arcade.
what it comes down to me is, and again, I don't want to talk bad about Castlevania, but
Yeah.
Castlevania 3 is better than Castlevania 1. Here we have a game based on Castlevania 3 doing some cool modern stuff. It's hard unless you want to go with the series merit, hey, this is the groundwork that it laid, which is an argument I can kind of see.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying. I don't know if
you
that's the
asked me
whole
today,
argument. Yeah.
what do you want to go play? You know.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But
Castlevania 1's got really, really good music.
it's true.
It is a really, it's a cool journey through the Castlevania and the bosses. It is really hard, especially when you get up kind of towards the end of the game
brutally
there.
hard.
I usually get up to the level that ends with death. Go figure. And then I start having a problem.
While slow and plotting, it's still it felt good to whip.
I still
at
think
that
it
time.
feels good to play.
And I still think
It's
it
just
does
rough
too.
and
Yeah,
getting,
it has a feel of a snap.
yeah,
when you hit
the
it.
belt getting the platforming is not always great because you get knocked back down
Yeah,
pits
jumping
and
is brutal.
you jump like a brick,
Yeah.
which are items that do not jump. So I mean, it's tough because one is a game that's from the mid '80s, and the other is a game that was released last year with all of that hindsight and is. I don't want to say clearly more fun to play in the modern age. It's a tough comparison to make because you have to kind of reach through the cloud of nostalgia and like what Castlevania 1 has meant and what it established for action games and that series
and your own criteria there.
And all that good stuff over the years.
Sometimes a series is going to take a knock on playability when every game on the series builds on that first one. Yes, the future games are more playable because they built on that first game.
I don't know, audience comments?
Yeah.
You should probably get your final votes in because we're probably getting close to
I
wrapping
know,
this
this
up.
is a tricky
Anybody have
one.
any comment on one game or the other as to which way we should be leaning? Looks like no. All right.
Okay. Well, we can decide this now. Then I guess.
All right.
What do you guys say?
I guess Bloodstained. It feels wrong.
I'm going 1. I got to go with 1.
I'm gonna go Bloodstained as well.
Wow.
I know.
What?
I know.
What?
This is a brutal one. They're very different.
See, I'm also voting Bloodstained, but the problem is the audience disagrees with us by a pretty healthy margin.
That's fine.
I'm
That's
with the
fine.
audience on this one.
I'm fine going ahead with Castlevania because I am like
to be fair to Castlevania,
Yeah.
it is a Castlevania
That
game.
is true.
Yeah.
So,
How about that? We're not, hey, the category isn't more Castlevania.
Okay,
most
well,
Castlevania.
Did Okami win our Zelda panel?
No, I am inclined to go with the audience vote for Castlevania. I think that's totally
Yeah,
fine because I'm
makes
so
me
on the
happy.
fence.
All right, Castlevania for the
Castlevania
NES
moves
takes
on.
it. Jeremy will be proud of us. All right, then let's go to our final matchup of the first round here.
All right.
That's right, folks. We've got Aria of Sorrow on the Game Boy Advance versus Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge for the Game Boy. If you're surprised by its inclusion, it's backed up by the ratings and reviews support
It's
it.
really weird.
It's really good.
As far as I know, it's
awesome
the
music.
only like Castlevania with like a level select up front.
Yeah.
Like
No, I'm the one that spent the most time with this as a kid because this was like the first one I had. As,
Me too.
like, a console.
I was right there with you. Yep.
Yeah, that's still one of my favorite Castlevania soundtracks. I think one thing I love about it is just that black and white is a very unique tone for Castlevania. It's closer to the goofy Universal monster feel than any other game I've played in this series, and I kind of wish that they would do like a stark black and white Nosferatu like take on the series at this point. It's hard to jump in that game. It's not a perfect game by any means. Sound effects are very satisfying.
yeah.
I think they're the best Castlevania games on the respective platforms.
Yep.
yes, I would agree with that.
100%
I
agree.
think that is an accurate statement to say
Yeah.
out loud. I
go back to Belmont's Revenge a lot.
Belmont's Revenge is neat. It's really nice for its time. I think Aria of Sorrow is one of the best Castlevania games ever.
Absolutely.
If not the, so this is not close for me.
No, this is where I have to take the shroud of nostalgia off, and
This
Aria's definitely
Aria
a
of
better
Sorrow
pick.
2. It's like you got Circle of the Moon, which came out. It's hard. It's dark. Again, maybe it doesn't hold up. You had Harmony, which like went too far the wrong direction, and then Aria was the course correction they needed. Like this is the right mix. It was beautiful, like very cool color palette. Challenging, but not like I'm going to throw my console against the wall.
Right.
The magic system, the like soul system was really cool. Like,
Well, the soul
and it was
systems-
vast. Like every
Yeah.
enemy you killed, you're
Right.
getting at least there's the potential of getting a new ability.
It's Castlevania Kirby. You get to use every enemy's power. It's very like I have no problem with really
Castlevania
challenging-
Kirby.
Yeah.
Now, yes,
Yeah.
now we're talking. Everyone is here.
I have no problem with challenge if playing the game itself feels really fun, and that's what like Aria does. Like every minute of that feels super fun.
It's a fun anecdote about Aria because there's a point in the game where you get an ability that lets you walk on water, and you need that ability. You're supposed to need that ability in order to double jump up into like the clock tower area.
Yes.
But if you jump just so, you can make it up onto that platform without being able to walk on water, which is what I did. And boy, is the clock tower real hard when you don't have that ability yet. But I leveled up fast. But fighting death, I was like, oh my god, this has to be the hardest freaking Castlevania boss I've ever faced because I was fighting him probably 3 or 4 areas early.
Yeah.
but I beat him.
I remember that being a good
That
death.
game's great.
I came here not to bury Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge, but to
Let's get
praise
our
it.
last votes in because we're over 3 minutes on this debate.
It
at the moment.
creates such an amazing sense of atmosphere in only 4
Yes.
shades of gray. And God, I love that music.
I mean, 4 shades of, like,
love
green,
that
but-
music so much. But Aria might be a better game than Symphony of the Night.
Might.
We'll
out.
see.
Who knows?
Yeah,
We'll
I know.
see.
We'll get there.
It's a
Boy, if
serious
only
contender.
Rondo
We
was
might
in
get
there.
Aria wins it for me, hands down. Despite
I think
my
Aria. I think
desperate
we're all
love for
Aria.
Belmont's Revenge.
I mean, I absolutely vote Aria.
Yeah.
I'm just glad we got to talk about Belmont's Revenge.
It's good.
Yeah.
We just wanted to love up on it a little
Yeah.
bit. And you know what? You guys, of course, agree overwhelmingly with our panel up here. It's Aria of Sorrow by a huge margin, 82% to 18.
Very good.
Aria of Sorrow takes the match.
Now let's move
And
on to round 2.
With that,
Ba-ba-bam.
we move on to round 2.
Quarterfinals.
Our first matchup, and I have to
Bracket
look at our brackets, which keep disappearing on me. But our first matchup for round 2 is Symphony of the Night versus Super Castlevania 4.
All right.
That's what
I love that side.
Oh no!
That's the fun of round 2.
Not
there's
these
most of
two. Now it starts to get sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it when it gets sticky.
But not that
No, I do.
sticky, because boy, is Symphony of the Night a really good game.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
this,
that one's not hard for
I'm,
me,
I'm
but-
definitely Symphony of the Night, but I mean, this really is. What kind of Castlevania do you want? Right?
Yeah.
Do you want that Metroidvania like fork, or do you want that like awesome old school side-scrolling, game?
See, this is where I start to kind of look at the ways in which Super Castlevania 4 might not hold up quite as much, just because of like the amount of slowdown. And like
It's still really
The
hard.
later levels.
Yeah,
man.
Simon Belmont is a big clunky dude in that game. He is not feel the best character to control in a video game. The 8-way whip is and will always be awesome. But just going back to Symphony of the Night, which is something that I certainly do every now and again, just always feels great to go back to. That
It
game
looks like it
holds up
could have came out today. Like the
remarkably
fluidity
well.
of motion,
Yeah,
like the
for-
detail in the sprites in the castle. It's damn impressive.
Everything has detail.
for
Yeah.
something that
there's
Sony
a reason they
considered
haven't
to be,
like remade or redrawn
Yeah.
Symphony, right?
Yeah,
Like,
there's
it keeps
some-
coming out like more or less the same because
Yeah.
it doesn't need anything.
Right.
Yeah, for something that Sony considered to be a dated relic at the time of just like, oh, why are you putting out this old 2D game on our system
it's
which
like the
can push
only
these
PlayStation game that
polygons
doesn't
all
look
over the
tough.
place, but it's just
Yeah.
it holds up.
feels just like handcrafted. You can just see people putting little detail, like
It's like the frames of animation
Yeah.
when you're running. You're like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
especially when you compare it to its contemporary in Castlevania 64, which did not make the top 16.
that's weird. You could have gone
Sadly,
far
for
in this
such a
one.
Nintendo platform classic that was.
it's like Castlevania 4 is really good, but nothing was like Symphony of the Night. There were games like
Super
Castlevania.
Metroid was a little bit like Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. It still felt like I don't know.
enemies
Rock and
loot.
roll
There was
castle.
loot.
Yes, the
nightmare.
music was definitely a cool thing.
Just like, yeah, tone wise, feel wise, it's just very different to me.
It's funny
It
how
was based
Symphony of the
on-
Night can be like one of the most, I shouldn't say derivative because that shouldn't do it a disservice. It is very derivative of the games that it draws direct inspiration from,
Sure.
and yet it is this wildly creative phenomenon. It's lightning in a bottle.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it is the gaming zeitgeist condensed. It is the alpha and omega.
It's a genre.
Yeah, it's a fucking genre.
Come on, who's carrying a torch for Castlevania 4 in here? Wants to defend against this assault? Anybody? Nobody?
How?
Nobody.
Yeah.
No one. Funny.
Funny.
Stop.
Love that 8-way whip. though.
It's good. I feel like we
grab
couldn't
this up?
just
God, I
dismiss
feel
it.
Yeah, we're on round 2.
You know-
we like everything that's made it is
Yeah,
good.
Castlevania
Also,
4
this
is a
whole
wonderful
thing
game.
is good.
Castlevania 4 has a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very moody.
All right. Are we ready to wrap up audience polling here?
Yeah,
I think
sure.
you're fairly well decided.
Just
I
kind
think
of a
we're
blue
fairly well
circle at this
decided
point,
up
I'm
here.
guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Symphony of the Night.
close.
Yeah,
Symphony of the
something
Night?
Close?
like that.
Okay. Yeah.
We
Symphony.
Symphony.
Yeah.
Symphony. Symphony for me as well, and for you, our audience, by a margin of 88 to 12%.
Okay, cool.
Symphony
Good, someone
takes.
fought it.
Symphony takes it.
Good.
So, oh shit.
Yeah, I'm just
What-
writing down.
Oh
what-
shit.
Now I fucked up something in the. There's 3 choices there for round 2. There's 3 choices for all of them. God damn it.
Dave.
David, just
Dave.
put Rondo back in.
Doing my best to fix this on a phone.
Come on now.
I forgot we took Rondo out.
I did not.
No, these brave souls took Rondo out. That's what happened.
They did the right thing and took Rondo out and kept Circle of the Moon for the Game Boy Advance in. So what's going on, Dave? What are you fixing?
So the next matchup is Portrait of Ruin versus Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse.
Oh.
Okay. Castlevania 3 moving on.
Well, I had lots of nice things to say about Portrait of Ruin when it was up against
Portrait of Ruin is
Ecclesia.
okay, and Castlevania 3 is a stone cold classic.
I mean, yeah. Yeah,
This is a hard one
second best Nintendo DS Castlevania, I don't think holds water against Castlevania 3. Like, maybe not even its soundtrack. Again, just the soundtrack of Castlevania 3 just wrecking fools on this
Castlevania
bracket.
3 is that like defining game in the series, right? Like you
And
said, like 1 comes out strong, 2 does a weird thing, and 3's like, let me take 1 and refine it, and
And it also, it feels way bigger than the Nintendo.
Totally.
Like, it's just like bursting at the seams.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much content in that game that you have branching paths, you have multiple characters, you have tons of music. There is so much, and especially in game is hard AF. Just especially as a kid purchasing like a $60 game and or $50 game at the time, but that's in $80s dollars, so it's like $100.
So it's like $180.
Yeah, it's like $100 for a game, and you want that to last. Like that game is quality value because it is going to kick the crap out of you. It's going to take you forever to learn those patterns, to learn those levels. You're going to keep finding new levels, finding new characters. You're going to have to go up and get Grant from the clock tower, then have to try to get back down the clock tower. Oh my God. You gotta love 80s contests.
I want to make
like
a
that,
documentary
right?
now.
It was
Or
so,
came back.
It was so good they based a Netflix animated show
That's
after
true.
it.
It's a damn good
And
show.
Warren Ellis was trying to make that for 10 years.
Forever,
It's that
yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah.
And Portrait of Ruin is okay. You can
alright.
push the button and flip. See, okay, you know what Castlevania 3 doesn't have? They don't say their names when you flip between characters. It's really dull. It just goes, and then they reform. They don't say like,
Grant Dynasty.
they don't say, yeah, Grant Nasty.
I'd be like, yeah.
Trevor, Grant, Trevor, Grant, Trevor, Alucard.
It's just the Smash Brothers announcer doing it.
Trevor. Spoilers. Wrap of audience vote.
Yeah, wrap of-
Move
I'd
the
rather have
swans a little
Grant
lopsided
Yep.
here.
Yeah, we should
Yeah,
move
yeah,
on.
yeah.
Castlevania
Make
3.
all our
Castlevania
Dynasty
3.
jokes.
3. Yeah, we all vote 3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3.
we all love 3, and so do you by a closer margin than I thought, by 61 to 39%.
Good enough.
Castlevania 3
Like it.
takes it. So our next matchup here is Circle of the Moon versus Dawn of Sorrow. You guys voted for it.
Actually,
I don't know
that's
what
a
to
lot
say about
closer. That's a lot closer of a matchup, at least.
These are both great games.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Dawn of
No, I mean,
Portrait
like,
of Ruin was fine. These are excellent.
Dawn of Sorrow's good, except for
both
that
of
thing. Yeah.
well, that's the thing. Both of them have like something like Circle of the Moon is so, and let's just say on original hardware before there was a backlight. Unable to view this on as a launch title. Dawn of Sorrow is virtually unplayable for myself.
That's great. I mean, but
Yeah.
you like Aria of Sorrow. I mean, like.
Oh,
it's-
I love Ario.
I mean, like
Arios.
I can hear that Aria might be better, but like Dawn of Sorrow continues that story, that world, the ability system.
It doesn't feel. I mean, like it feels like a different game, which is great.
The sound is great. I mean, it's on the DS.
Sure, it has different chip, but I think Aria's score is better.
Okay.
I just want to give all of you guys a quick a note here. Looks like a lot of you probably voted for Rondo of Blood when I predicted that Rondo was going to be in this match. I can't actually remove those votes that you already registered for Rondo of Blood.
Rondo wins this match.
You have a dark horse.
If you strongly prefer
third-party candidate.
If you strongly prefer Dawn of Sorrow or Circle of the Moon, you can go ahead and vote again and register your preference.
Do I hear
because-
something
we-
in
we
German
might need
coming on
If it's
horseback?
Bone, we might need to do a hand raise here. I think this is a tough one because I don't feel especially passionate either way. I like both of these
Right.
games. I would definitely be Dawn of Sorrow just because I like that battle system more and the magic system.
Oh, it's
I think Dawn of Sorrow.
No, I think Dawn of Sorrow as well.
Yeah, Dawn
Yeah.
of Sorrow, obviously. Why are
Yeah.
we even debating this?
Well,
you
because
guys?
Circle of the Moon is here, and we don't know.
Something in German on
Why
horseback?
is Circle of the Moon better than Dawn of Sorrow? Somebody has to know. Or
Some
vice
of you must
versa.
feel this way because,
can't
my
wait for
God,
third round,
Dawn of
whatever
Sorrow is
swats down
languishing at
Dawn.
42% of the vote here.
What is going on?
Should we take hand raise votes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it at that point. Do we want to talk about it a little bit more? Do we feel we're at hand raising point? We got.
I think it's true. Well, there's 3 on the circle.
What time is it? Do we have time?
Yeah, I got the
It's
time. No,
8:55.
we're good. We're okay.
Okay.
All right. Too much.
Oh, yeah, we got
It's fine.
plenty
I
of
got
time.
my timer.
Oh, yeah, look, it's got numbers.
Look, okay, I know I bashed Dawn of Sorrow before, but like mechanically, it is the most refined version of Symphony of the Night. It gives everything that Aria did, improves it by making it more flexible, giving you more options, giving you like 2 sets of souls that you can equip and switch between easily. It gives you all 3 other characters to play with at the end. It is a game that is chock full of Castlevania goodness. It's loaded. It's a lot of game.
I mean, you could.
When you're not drawing on the touch screen, it's great.
And even that's not so
it's-
bad.
It's okay
trying-
when you're drawing on the touchscreen.
And
I don't
again,
know.
props for trying new things. I just don't think it was. I think Ario's more tight the way that all that stuff works too. Like it's throwing a lot of things. It's just like this worked. So let's give more. Which I guess we took Castlevania 2 out for trying new things that didn't quite work too.
True.
Dawn of Sorrow does bring us outside into the snow,
That's true.
and I kind of love that. Mm-hmm. I think that's a cool.
And again,
That
it's
was
the
cool.
future.
And it's
the future
future.
Castlevania. Come on.
I mean, Circle of the Moon did Mune. The Circle of the Moon
Circle of the Moon.
again did its
Mune.
neat thing with the magic system, but it's still like is not nearly as involved as the.
It's
the
not as
Soul
complex.
system.
I think it's a really good game. It was a fantastic game when it came out.
Yeah. Right.
But again, just like the one I want to play now, I like the more complicated battle system. I like the more refined controls.
Yeah, I'm only ever going back to Circle of the Moon like as a historical curio, not to enjoy
That's such
myself.
a mean hit for games.
Okay, so up
Yep.
here we're all pretty solidly Dawn, I feel. But
Dawn.
again, you guys are still. I'm just not sure if the polling
let's
reflects
take
your
a straw
feelings.
poll.
So
Who's here for Circle of the Moon? Raise your hand. Okay. And
All right.
Who's
all
here
right.
for Dawn of Sorrow?
Okay, that was more for Dawn of Sorrow.
Yeah.
Close.
It's closer than I
but I
thought.
think it was
Yeah,
more for
that's
Dawn of
Dawn.
Sorrow.
Dawn
It
of
is,
Zorro.
it's close out there, but there's definitely more hands for Dawn up there, and there's more hands for Dawn up here.
Yeah, let's-
I mean,
so we
gotta-
you
you gotta
plus
do
us
Dawn on this
combined.
one.
Yeah.
I think we got to give it to Dawn. All right.
All right.
So Dawn's going to take it. So that means.
Sorry, you Circle of the Moon stalwarts out there
Yeah.
that I didn't know were out there. I learned something today.
So that means our fourth matchup of round 2 is Castlevania for the NES versus Aria of Sorrow.
Man.
Simon versus Soma.
I don't have much bad to say about Castlevania 1 at all. But yeah, Aria
Oh,
of
you're
Sorrow
gonna
is
have to,
flawless.
Jay.
I mean, it's fantastic.
I know.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes
Especially
down
on
to
that
what's fun to
GBA.
play,
that's not
It's-
even close. I would
right.
Aria of Sorrow is one of those games I'd replay over and over and over again.
It's one of the most
Very
easy to
joyful.
replay games. Yeah. Ever. No, it has to be. Aria. I don't know what else to say on this one, honestly. It's what set the roots versus what kind of went in a weird, fun pattern.
It would maybe be a little harder to dismiss the other one again if it was like Castlevania 3 or 4 or something that came a little bit later here. But I think this is where Castlevania's the arguments of it's the first one and it like set things up start to get a little weaker when you're up against like the really 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 strong games in the series.
Castlevania can win fights against non-Castlevania games, but once it's up against Castlevania games, Castlevania gets into some trouble.
It just jumps and falls.
Suddenly Castlevania doesn't.
It's better than Castlevania 2.
Oh, yeah. I would say so.
Yeah.
It's got that
Easy.
going
It's
for
Not
it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's try to be positive, before we just immediately like send it out to pass.
Well, no,
I-
again, you can do a really thorough academic study of why Castlevania is a solidly designed game, and Jeremy Parrish did, and he's incredibly thorough in the way he breaks down the Ludo narrative, the way
Yeah.
everything gels together, the way the map is consistent and coherent and a sense of place, and he fucking loves that shit. That is all true. That is all true and well and good, but we're also pitting what is basically a 1987 side-scrolling arcade-style action game versus a game that does all that stuff and a ton more and a ton deeper, and there's more strategy, and there's equipment, and there's stuff to collect. We love collecting things, and there's a big map to explore. It's got great music. This is finally where the Game Boy Advance, where its meager sound chip is like shining, because these tunes rock. Oh my God, the clock tower music, that's some fucking good. I'm gonna be doing that all night, folks, so just so you know.
Castlevania, it's got good music all around.
Who knew?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aria of Sorrow is great. And also that has the Belmont only mode at the end of it.
Yes.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
beat
you
the
still
game.
get a whip.
So yeah, you still got that. Yeah, it's a blast and shows what has been learned from Castlevania games for 15 years.
Yeah, it takes everything that's learned, adds its own twist. It is its own game.
And it's in the future.
And it's in the
It's
future.
in the future. It's so Castlevania's in the future, guys.
Someone already did that. Yeah.
Alucard's in a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a fancy.
Yeah.
It looks good too.
Yeah.
a
All right,
fancy
well, I get
boy.
our last votes in here
All right.
All right.
on the app.
Yeah, well, so up here on the panel, I think our feelings are clear. We say Aria of
Aria,
Sorrow
Aria.
takes it. And audience, it seems like you are very much simpatico with us on this one. Aria of Sorrow wins this round by 67% versus 33. So Aria of Sorrow advanced.
We got some fun
to
battles coming up.
The third round. Yeah, this is where we have to kill our darlings here.
Semifinals, is that where we're
Yeah,
at? Final
these are the
four?
semifinals.
Fun four.
If that would, if my choice would register.
Oh, vampire.
We're down to good Castlevania games.
Bum, bum, bum.
You can say that at the beginning of this.
Yeah, that's well true.
Bum, bum, bum,
Just
bum,
like
bum,
the all
bum,
four of
bum,
these
bum,
are
bum.
bangers.
People, oh boy.
Need that rap album here.
I don't even know what to tell you about these four
tried it
games
at the
here.
beginning.
These four games are classics. Oh, and I love that Aria is going up against Dawn. I'm going to fight that one to the death. Folks, let's talk about Symphony in 3, all right?
This is Symphony versus 3.
This is Symphony versus 3.
Follow your dreams, follow your heart.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say here. Like,
If this was Symphony versus Rondo, that would be very different for me. To keep bringing up Rondo. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
what happened to
remember
Rondo?
Rondo?
I don't know what happened to Rondo. But,
Nobody does.
But Symphony versus 3 is a little easier for me. I think as awesome as 3 is, Symphony is just a marvel, and is both are incredibly replayable games.
Well, here's the thing, though. Every
Yeah.
time you replay 3, you need to buy a new controller because you've broken it the last time you played Castlevania 3. It's so brutally tough. Symphony of the Night.
Yeah,
Less
it's tough. I have never been able to finish Castlevania 3. It is so darn hard. And you know, both these games when they dropped like in their times, when like Castlevania 3 is you know the send off to the NES for the Castlevania series, and it you know pushes the NES and to the extent of what it could do, and it's awesome in its moment. And Symphony was the only Castlevania on PlayStation 1, and then like just
The only original title for...
Yeah, and
Chronicle,
then
yeah.
shows just like how far that 2D evolution could go.
That's what I love about it, is that it's
Yeah.
one of the ultimate expressions of what you can do with sprites.
Yeah.
It is so opulent. They animate things that don't need to be animated. They include art for things that you didn't really need. You could have cut 1,000,000 corners in that game, but they didn't.
Yeah.
My God, it's like it's a banquet when you're only hungry enough for a mint. It's crazy.
Well, it's all that personality in like, and that's what feels so handcrafted about it. It's just like, yeah, all these little characters that you're telling little stories to yourself about. It's not like interpreting that sprite in the background. It's like, no, they animated that. There's a story there. What the fuck is who's that guy that just melted?
Well, I think it's the thing where you look at, and this is the point where this has to come out. It's like you look at Symphony of the Night, and like you play through Dracula's castle, and there's all these like nooks and crannies and side rooms and optional areas like way down into the catacombs and like the rooms in the middle and and you finally get up to the end and you fight Shaft, and maybe that goes the way that it's supposed to go, and then suddenly another castle comes out of the clouds and
Yeah.
the game is twice as big as you thought it was.
I know. They really
Yeah.
turned the
That
whole
is
formula on its head.
insane.
So I think a good summation of this is Dracula's Curse is the summation of what was technically possible on the NES, but Symphony is the summation of 2 decades worth of game design progress.
Yeah.
I think this is worth note too. I remember at the time people thought 2D sprites was actually good.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, that's why this.
And the level of animation and the like better soundtrack, it shows like, oh, actually, we can do a whole lot more with more horsepower that's still in 2D.
Yeah.
And it holds up way better than any of those other early PlayStation games. Many of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it couldn't do
Sadness.
those transparencies. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who knew? That's using the PlayStation's strengths to make an awesome sprite-based game. Who knew?
Yeah.
Using transparencies and polygons only where it was appropriate and cool.
Yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, just kind of my opinion is, yeah, Dracula's Curse certainly belongs in the semifinal.
Yeah.
But
It had a good
here.
run.
ultimately, Symphony
Yeah.
is the better game.
It's a privilege just to be nominated.
Get them
Yeah.
votes
Yeah.
in.
Has to be the symphony here.
Them vote.
The people agree with us.
Yeah, the people agree.
want
The
Symphony.
people.
Great.
That's what you chose.
Symphony moves into the finals.
Symphony moves into the final round by 68 to 32. It's Symphony
Yes.
of the Night over Dracula's Curse.
Symphony of
And now,
the
folks,
Night.
this is where we need to.
This next round makes me sad.
Yeah. Well,
Does it
I
fill you
don't
with
know.
sorrow?
Yeah. You get it. Sorry.
Come on.
Yeah, boo me.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. It's
Vote
Dawn
for
versus
Aria.
Aria.
Yeah. Just it's the clear vote for Aria. Yeah, it's really fun. I love going back to it.
Yeah,
Dawn,
it's Aria of Sorrow versus Dawn of Sorrow as Dave's fiddling and
I'd love to
jiggering.
hear a little bit from the audience. I feel like we've talked about both
Yeah,
of these
that's
to death,
true.
especially
Yeah, we
Aria.
should.
Yeah, and this
That's a
one's
good
so
point.
tight because they're so similar. This is one of the few direct sequels in Castlevania history.
They did,
so-
especially to direct sequels that came out chronologically. Like a
Yeah.
lot of them will harken back, but the timeline is all over the
Yeah.
place.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the main thing, and this is the stick or steak or what have you that I would throw.
Stick or steak.
The stick or steak that I would throw at Dawn of Sorrow is that it's just like what is good about it is just everything that it took from Aria of Sorrow, but then also you have to do the touchscreen stuff, so it's actually worse. Like the whole soul
good way to put it.
system was new.
Oh, here we go.
And
Yeah.
You guys were just gushing about how wonderful the art direction of Symphony of the Night is. I agree.
Yeah.
But Dawn of Sorrow literally is expanding on those aspects.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
true.
At appropriate places.
Yeah.
Yeah, touchscreen stuff, not so great.
But it's a pretty minimal part of that game.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, even the name, like is Heart DS. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if they remade Aria with all of Dawn's higher resolution assets, holy shit, that'd be incredible.
well, I also like a lot of the assets from Symphony of the Night were reused throughout like that entire portable
Oh, yeah.
series,
Oh,
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
over the place. That's kind of like a knock against all of them, really, is that
Yeah.
they borrowed from that. But the knock against Dawn is that it borrowed everything from Aria, and that
And
the
then
whole soul
expanded
system was
upon it,
new
looked a little
and
better.
fresh, and it was still fun in Dawn, but it wasn't as fresh. Like Aria broke all this ground, and I think is more fun to play
How
overall.
about this?
Even
which
setting
of
the
those
touchscreen
games do
aside.
you have to push start to go see the map? And which of those games do you get the map visible to you the whole time?
Oh, man.
Maybe the biggest quality of life improvement of all time in a
Man, if
Castlevania.
they remade Aria on the DS so you could see the map all the time.
They did. It was
that'd be
called Dawn of
fucking-
Sorrow. It was a great game.
That's true.
Yes.
Aria had that one boss battle that's kind of a spoiler.
No, blow it. What is it?
Yeah, do it.
Julius boss battle. One of my favorite boss battles.
No, yeah, it's cool. But and
Alright.
there's the whole secret second area where you have to equip the particular souls to make Soma very Dracula-ish in order to move forward. Like everything about that game felt like a breath of fresh air.
Dawn felt
and
a
that-
little
yeah,
more
it
like a
was-
chore when it
Yeah,
was
it
doing like
sure
the
did.
same.
It
thing.
was leaving
Yeah.
that old timey, 1600s, 1700s, 1800s timeline behind, like jumping into the future, just new characters. It still had loot drops like Symphony of the Night did, so there was different weapons and stuff to equip. On top of the fact you had the whole soul system backing it up, so it just was like. Especially after Circle and especially after Harmony, it was just like, holy crap, this game just does so much that is fresh and new. And when they were making a direct sequel for the DS, like, it is still great, it's still awesome, but it is more of Aria, and I don't think it's better of Aria.
We haven't talked a lot about story in Castlevania games because they're, they're often just merely present. Aria is one of the few Castlevania games that actually really makes me feel something about its narrative. And that's because a lot of it is sort of left to your imagination. The cutscenes happen, and it's got way more beautiful artwork, the beautiful watercolors versus Dawn's garish anime bullshit. But when turns in the story that should and could be laughable, like when Soma... when the reveal of Soma happens, his portrait changes and the music changes too. Not only to something melancholy, but also something very dissonant. Something that is, it's not merely like evil music, it's unsettling music. It kind of makes you, when he says, I am Dracula. Like, you feel as confused as he must. Because I remember hitting that turn, and I'm like, okay, A, this twist doesn't make sense, but it's still creeping me the fuck out, because everything that's happening right now
dissonant yet
feels like a
harmonious.
dream. When you get the bad endings, sometimes
that's
like Alucard is like, oh, well, I guess we should all go home then. And again, this sort of weird, creepy music plays. You feel like, what just happened? There's a weird sort of fever dream feeling to Aria that's wonderfully unsettling, that no other Castlevania game gives me that level of discomfort that I love and I crave. Whereas Dawn's story is very pat. It is very definite. You are told exactly how you should feel about each character. Very little is left to your imagination. Very little is up to your feelings and your decisions. Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fair.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Love
No,
it.
I think
Love
that's
being
totally
made
true,
feeling uncomfortable
actually.
by horror. How about that?
All right.
This is close.
I don't know how to put it into exact words, but it almost feels like the big budget sequel to like this movie that had like rough around the edges thing, but it felt good because it was like trying stuff. But then like the you threw more money at it and it just didn't work quite as well.
It's too polished.
Yeah, in a way, it's almost too polished.
It
It's
is
not bad.
No,
no,
that doesn't
it's
make it
still a
bad.
good game.
Some
And I
might say
love
it's
all
one
the
of the four
technical-
best Castlevania games.
I mean, well, I don't know if I would say that. But
Sure.
it was up against what, Circle of the
Joke.
Moon in the
It's
last
the Final
round?
Four.
Yeah.
Do we need to call it?
Oh yeah, let's
I don't-
call it. Let's
yeah,
wrap
yeah,
this
yeah.
up.
Time wise.
Okay, we're calling the voting at this point. What say you, panel? Tim?
Aria.
Aria.
I'm still going Dawn.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jay. I'm going with Aria as well. And our audience here, not by as huge a margin, because
Yeah.
these games are very similar, but by 61% to 49, it is Aria of Sorrow. Moving on
Wait,
to
61 to 49?
What?
Yep,
What?
that's perfect.
Okay, yep.
I'm 39. I'm sorry, I'm doing math, and because there's multiple choices here, it got fucked up. Just don't worry. Just trust me.
Oh boy.
Did
Aria's
Rondo
at
win?
67.
Is Rondo there? Rondo, where are you?
Weirdly.
Where is Rondo?
It's just in the sports bar.
All right.
Whenever
so-
Rondo's not here, everybody should be asking, "Where's Rondo?"
Where's Rondo?
Randall of Blood.
Randall.
Where's Rondo? She said. Okay.
Whoa!
It's a triple threat.
Sneaks up from behind.
It's been 100 years since
Castlevania.
we talked about it. It's rising back up.
Folks,
Oh, no.
this is it. It has come down to this. Symphony of the Night versus Aria of Sorrow. The progenitor versus the offspring. Where will we land? What will we do?
See you next MAGFest.
Yeah.
You can play Aria of Sorrow like on the bus. That's cool because it's portable.
I think this is
That's
the,
a really big
the first
plus.
time one of these
It is.
grudge matches has actually ended up where I thought it would, without some twist game showing up in the last round. But
These games.
yeah,
Yeah.
give us.
Yeah, let's go again.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can. That's true.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
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 Crossed my mind. Yeah.
I was kind of making a joke just because it's while these games are both amazing, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
This is where you know kind of trying to find logic here.
Joe.
Joseph Camisa.
Yeah, I think
Much
in
better.
terms of like, I think they're both incredibly fun to play these days.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually really hard for me to say like which one I would want to play more. So then you start to get to tiebreakers like, okay, well, Symphony did a lot of that first, certainly first in the Castlevania series, and Aria is definitely like aping on it. And again, executing at an extremely high level that legacy. But if it comes down to like what I would pick, it'd be kind of that more original game.
I'd say it is interesting. Our friend back here pointed out that now Symphony, you can play it on a portable. You can play Symphony of the Night pretty much anywhere. Whereas Aria, it's a lot harder to get a hold of. I mean, did it ever appear on a Virtual Console release?
I think Wii U you can play it on, yes.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
The most
So no one
virtual
can
of
play it.
consoles.
Yeah. So the answer was no.
And that's such a shame because
Yeah.
I'm feeling much like
That's
the way
true
that,
for most of the GBA catalog, honestly.
yeah, which is
Like,
so unfortunate
yeah.
because there's so
One of the
much
best
wonderful
consoles
stuff.
ever. Yeah.
And again, Rondo's locked on that Wii U. I mean, the Wii Virtual Console.
Didn't they just put it back out on PS4?
There was,
Yeah.
there
was
was.
that collection?
Yeah,
was
it's like
something
that,
else
it's that
wrong with
and
it, but
Symphony
yeah.
bundled together. Am I wrong
Yeah.
about that?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah, you are right.
Put that on Switch.
Oh,
That one's so muddy though. Yeah,
but,
that's why.
but it's not the polygonal version of Rondo.
Anyways,
Anyways,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah. It's a really tough call between these two. When I first played Aria, I certainly was like, man, this game is like almost as good as Symphony of the
rips.
Night. Even when you consider like how much it owes to Symphony of the Night for its existence. Again, like the Soul system was just so crazy and offered so much replayability. Like I played through Aria of Sorrow when it came out like 3 years.
Yeah, it's like if somebody came up and was like, which one of these should I play? I'd be like, you cannot go wrong. I don't know.
You get
Follow your
those-
heart.
Those, and I was at a time when I was poor, so I was a bad person, and I downloaded a ROM off a website.
What?
And put it in an emulator
Calling
to
the
play it
police
first,
right
and
now.
later I
Thief.
purchased the cartridge legally from a store, and then played it more
Yeah.
because I just love that game so much. You get those souls in a different order, you find new favorites, you try new things. And Symphony has that as well because the way the equipment drops work, maybe you go to different portions of the castle first, you find different weapons, use different familiars, you know how the spells work from the start and that you don't actually need to find anything to use them. You just need to know the button combos. There's just so much variety and replay. I'm just talking them both up now.
Be a bat. That's cool.
One of the things I love about these games is that they're both weird. They're both have so many weird little nooks, but I think Symphony is weirder. I always find something weird every time. And
Exactly
I think
what you
that-
just said about Aria versus Dawn, I think you can apply to Symphony versus Aria. Because mechanically, Aria makes refinements and streamlines some things about Symphony, whereas Symphony it's just, there's so much. It's even though it
Very
runs at a higher resolution, which is what makes it look more beautiful. That's all it is. The art direction in both games is fantastic, and mechanically Aria is a little more streamlined. But Symphony there's unnecessary stuff in Symphony that's just there for color.
And but it did occur to me there is one thing that Symphony of the Night has that Aria does not have, and that is stellar voice acting.
Okay, I changed my vote.
Regardless of what you think, but it's like
iconic is the word.
That's true.
Yeah.
it is one of the most memorable and most quoted scenes in a video game of all time.
I mean, it's no Mega Man
It's
8,
the
but it's pretty
confrontation
good.
with Dracula,
Yeah.
which gets ripped off and referenced and homaged all over the place. There was. What was I think is Guacamelee 2 does like plays
Oh,
out
I'm
that
sure.
exact
Oh, really?
scene.
Oh,
yeah.
that's funny.
Right, that's how the game opens. It has the Rondo opening.
Of course. Makes sense as a sequel.
Even Rondo is in Guacamelee, and it's not in this tournament anymore. It's so weird.
Where's Rondo?
It's in Guacamelee.
Guacamelee.
Not in this tournament. Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'll tell you why. Okay, we love to do these because right from our very first one, when we matched up every Zelda game ever made, we were so surprised by how you all voted. And Majora's Mask ended up winning. We never know. I know, right? We never know how these things are going to turn out. So
Had
it's.
they not played Link to the Past, or what? What was wrong with the panel?
We tried,
I think
man.
some
we
people
tried.
might not have. Okay. And then
Some
who?
of us tried.
I forget who won the Final Fantasy one.
It was
last year.
6.
6.
It was 6.
Yeah.
But it was in the finals against Final Fantasy
And we had
8.
some
Yeah.
weird matchups
That
there.
was the
yeah.
twist.
Yes.
I missed
Final
this one.
Fantasy 8 made the finals of our Final Fantasy break. I mean, the bottom line is we just want to do this to talk about games that we
We're
love
celebrating
and
great
argue
games. It's not about
Yeah.
who wins and loses.
But
Yep.
let's find out
let's
who
who the-
wins.
yeah,
let's
the
find
winner.
out. Get those
who
last
wins.
votes in.
All
and we'll
right.
get our votes in up here.
Yeah, gosh, this is so tough because I feel like I want to root for the underdog, but when you weigh everything, they're so evenly matched, and I feel like it's that thing, Weiss. It's that you know, the original had this spark of creativity where there's this. It is so opulent. It's so they spent hours crafting these tiny little details. It's insane. I love them both so dearly, and it's so close, but I feel like I got to give it to Symphony. And I hope that's not because I'm honoring this beloved genre king that, you know, that is one of the greatest games of all time. I think Symphony does deserve it.
Yeah. No, I can't say it better. It's going to Symphony for all the weird little things. Like Aria's the best game that it could be, and I'm glad it should be number 2 without Rondo here.
It is the best sequel to Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. No, these are probably like 1 and 2 as far as Castlevanias go for me, but I think Symphony in the end is number 1.
I like the final 2, but I'll go Symphony.
Yeah.
All right.
Audience?
You were clearly very divided about this one as well.
Oh.
They somehow voted for
because
Circle
the
of
voting
Moon.
was close, even with accidental votes for
Somehow
Rondo of
Circle
Blood,
of
which I
the
thought was going
Moon.
to be. Circle of the Moon wins, folks. You voted for Symphony of the Night by a tight margin.
We
It was
all agree. Happiness.
it was 58 to 42, 58% to 42%, but by a narrow margin, Symphony of the Night is the best.
As decided,
2D Castlevania with all the other omissions that we stipulated before.
As decided by this room of people. So thank you for coming out to our little grudge match here at MAGFest.
Thanks, guys.
People, you're the stars.
Thanks for coming. Have a wonderful
everybody.
Symphony of the Night.
And find more podcasts like this at fatgatsby.com. Might as well plug the thing we're actually here on.
That's good.
the
We were
website.
Fat Gatsby. Yeah, we're Fat Gatsby.
By the way, Fat Gatsby.
Fat Gatsby. We do podcasts occasionally.
Thanks, everybody.